Hey guys, James with Torches and Tactical, and today we're looking at another one of Brinyte's tactical line. Now this is the PT16, and you'll see that we have already done a Brinyte tactical light already, and we liked it quite a bit, so I'm excited to see exactly what Brinyte has up their sleeve for the PT16. So let's start with a couple of those specs. Now this is the PT16, and it gives you 2000 lumens from a luminous SFT40 LED. Now with that long, deep reflector, it does shine out to 600 meters. And if you care about those candela numbers, that comes to 92,500 candela. All that is powered by a 21700 cell battery that gives you 5,000 milliamp hours of juice. So we throw that back in. And it does also achieve a waterproof resistance rating, even though it does have external USB-C, and that's because of a little party trick that Brinyte put up their sleeve. Now you can see that this USB-C port is externally, and let me see if I can zoom in here, and internally sealed as well. So even though it doesn't have the largest, thickest flap in the world, it is still waterproof. So putting this aside, let's go ahead and look at the packaging they sent me. Now do keep in mind that this is a pre-production unit. So the box that I got is quite a bit different than the box that you'll get. Now mine came in a plain cardboard box with a little bit of egg carton foam. This is the actual sleeve that it came in to keep it protected. Now, as far as accessories go, all that this received was a bag with some spare O-rings, a rather long USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and a Brinyte branded lanyard. Now, I've always liked the lanyards. These have always seemed very, very tough quality, but this is quite a bit different than the woven lanyard that came with some of the other Brinyte lights that we've experienced in the past. So if we get this out of the way, we can focus on what you're actually paying for when you buy a flashlight. Now, a couple of the dimensions. All in all, this is 159 millimeters long. The body has a diameter of 27 millimeters and the head has a diameter of 39 millimeters. And that total weight is 152 grams without the battery. Now with that battery, if you are wondering exactly what kind of runtimes you're going to get with this, you'll be happy to note that in low mode at 10 lumens, you do get a total of 280 hours of runtime. And if you run it in turbo the whole time, all 2000 lumens, you will get 2 minutes of turbo followed by a step down at 130 minutes or just over 2 hours. So 2 hours and 12 minutes for a total runtime if you keep it in its highest settings. Now this does also have a high mode of 820 lumens that gives you 200 minutes of runtime, as well as a medium mode, and that's 130 lumens for a total of 20 hours of runtime. Now, one interesting thing to note about the PT16 is you can actually get this in a couple different sets, if you will. So they have a PT16 standard, they have a PT16 outdoor, and they have a PT16 tactical. So this is the standard kit, and everything that I told you about that comes included with this is the standard outfit. Now, if you get the outdoor kit, you do also get a premium flashlight holster, something to carry this around in, as well as a tactical finger ring, kind of like the one that we used on our last Brinyte video. But if you upgrade to the PT16 in tactical guise, it will replace this dual switch tail cap for a remote pressure switch. And instead of that holster, you do get a weapons mount with a Picatinny rail mount on the bottom. Now, focusing on the body of this, you can see that the head does have a bunch of shallow machining grooves built into it, and that's going to give you a lot of grip if you do ever have to service or replace an O-ring near the head, but I don't suspect that to be an issue. Moving a little further down, you can see cooling fins near that USB-C charging port. And that is opposite of a third switch, and that's going to be an E switch from the body. Now that switch does allow you to control the light and use it as more so a normal flashlight. But if you prefer the tactical use, it does have the momentary as well as a strobe, the two switches back here. So continuing on, there are those cooling fins that are going to help dissipate some of that heat when all 2000 lumens shines out. And moving down to the battery tube or the body of the light. Now, I talked about some shallow machining up here on the head, but that also continues just in a larger fashion down on the body. So there's just enough space in between each of these grooves where it gives you a crazy amount of grip. Although with this pocket clip here, it does kind of get in the way, if I'm speaking frankly. So that pocket clip is only a one-way clip, which is a little unusual, and I don't know if it is going to change on the production models. Online, it does show a two-way pocket clip, but it's more of a generic design that does not allow for use of this rotating ring. So I'm not sure exactly which one's going to be used, but I can tell you that this one does give you pretty decent spring resistance, and it does keep pretty close to the body, so I can see that there may be a couple issues getting this over your jean pocket or wherever you decide to actually clip your light to. So if we keep moving back, like I said, it does have that tactical ring right here. It's not a finger ring, so you don't get some of those benefits, but it will keep it from standing, and it does give you a little more control. So we'll keep moving down to that tail cap, and this also has some shallow machining, but it also has a few flats on here that give you just that much more grip. And you can see on the very back of the tail cap, there are some U-shaped saddles here as well as a lanyard hole, and that's going to give you some ease of mind knowing that you're not going to accidentally hit that tail switch at any given time. So all those presses will be intentional. So if we look at the back though, you will see a large silicone main switch, and that gives you momentary and constant functions. So you have your momentary and you can fully click it. And from here you can control your light with that main E switch. But while it's on, you can hit the secondary switch and that will change your modes. But if that main switch is off, you can go ahead and do a momentary with that secondary tactical switch, and that's going to give you an instant strobe. So there are quite a few functional options here. Now, if we continue moving back up front, you can see this switch, and it is on sort of a raised shelf, if you will. Now that raised shelf is going to make it very easy to identify the switch location and operate that switch like we were talking about. And opposite that, you do see that USB-C rubber charging flap with the Brinyte logo on it. Now, this is, as I showed earlier, this is externally. So you can see a little bit of almost like epoxy or resin, but this is externally and internally sealed to give you that waterproof rating. And that is also a very quick charge and does get that 21700 cell battery. This battery is rated at 5000 milliamp hours, but it charges it up rather quickly. And that'll help get you back on the road even faster. Now, I did test this with a couple other brands of 21700 cell batteries as well, and it worked great. Now, if I have to complain about one thing right now, it'll just be the fact that this flap here is very, very slim, and it puts it in a position to where it can catch on everything and it's always going to be open. So it is good that it is waterproof rated, but at the same time, I'd rather the port cover or the charging port cover, I'd rather it stay stationary. So on the very front, you can see those crenulations, and when we shined it earlier, you were able to see a little bit of the AR lens that's poking through here with a little bit of a purple corona, if you will. But you can see a little bit of stepping on this outside edge from those crenulations. So what I want to do now is I want to take this outside and compare it to the SFT40 in the Workhos FC12. So let's go ahead and check these side by side outdoors at night and compare the beams from a large smooth reflector versus a much tighter, but still very deep, smooth reflector of the FC12. All right, guys, we have the Brinyte PT16. We have low, medium, high, and turbo. And to compare, we have the Workhos FC12, low, medium, high, and turbo. All right, guys, we went outside and we saw the beam of the Brinyte PT16 versus the Workhos FC12. So I want to know down in the comments below what you guys thought of the difference. Wow, and that purple is really shining through on that AR lens right now. Now don't mind that smudge of my fingerprints. That'll get cleaned off. But I want to know what you guys thought of the beam comparisons between the Brinyte PT16 and the FC12. If you thought there was a major difference in the smooth bezel and the more narrow but still pretty deep reflector of the FC12 versus the much deeper, much larger reflector of the PT16. Also, tell me what you guys thought about those crenulations poking their little head through in that beam pattern. So touching base on a final few items, I'm just going to say that between the PT16, the PT18, and the PT28, all of which I have, and we do have one more to test coming up here, I do have to say that the feel of the PT16 is probably my favorite. Well, I say probably, but definitely. I do like the change on the body shape. To be honest, I do love the fact that it is just printed on now instead of the large emblazoned or machined logo for Brinyte that has been on previous models. And all in, this does just feel very, very proper. It is obviously a large tactical light, but with all of the different modes and options that it has, can be used for EDC as well. That with the large battery gives you lots of good runtime, and you get an absolute monstrous amount of throw with that large deep reflector and the SFT40. Finally, if you guys want to go ahead and get one of your own, I will have a link for Brinyte down below. So thank you guys so much for being here with me, checking out the Brinyte PT16. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.